great, and we all want to make sure we get to their level in the long run. Okay, we're going to start with, on our right, Jonathan. He's going to be speaking tonight. Then we have right next to him on the left, Musaki. He's going to be sharing. He's wearing our Made to Worship sweatshirt. They're really nice if you want to buy one. Okay, and the nice yellow dress, we have Akuya. She's going to be sharing tonight, and she shared last time as well, so I'm excited to hear more of her sweet voice and her wisdom. And then right next to her, we have Hannah. She's new to our panel, and I'm excited to listen to the wisdom that she's going to share. Oh, yes, Musaki is new this year as well. So 2 new wisdom, people full of wisdom and insight. So make sure your pen and paper are ready, and we'll let them kick it off. Go ahead, guys.
All right. Thank you, Elizabeth. So we'll talk about financial literacy, freedom, and address a lot of the questions that you guys may have. And we'll kind of try to go in order of, that sort of makes sense. So I'll start by talking about if you're a student or early professional, right? Some of the things that you should be doing in your finances. I know a lot of you may already be doing this, even if you are a student or you're early professional, but the most important thing that you need to do and to have in place, right, is to have a budget, right? Without a budget, you are just flying without a destination, right? So that's one of the most important things. And one of the ways that you can do that, I think a lot of folks, get caught up in, well, I don't know how to create a budget, right? I don't know what that budget should look like, right? And the great thing is that today, right, because we have access to the internet, and all of you, I hope, certainly do, right, you can find a lot of templates, right, for budgeting online, right? If you're a person that doesn't like to use apps, right, you can find templates that are on Excel, right? And they're easy to use. You can just Google them, right? And they are already available, already created. And all you need to do is just manipulate it, and you can use it for your needs, right? If you are an app user, right, there are a ton of apps that are available for you for budgeting, right? A few of those are Mint, Truebill, or Every Dollar, right? Any of those 3 are fantastic. They're simple. You can input your income, you can input your expenses, and then you're able to then determine how everything will flow. You're able to determine how much money you will have in terms of savings. And we'll talk about how you appropriate those dollars, but you get a better picture of your finances by having a budget, right? So first thing you should do, if you don't have a budget, if you only like to use Excel spreadsheets, Google it, and you'll be able to find a template. If you prefer to use an app and you don't have one and you don't have a budget at this moment, just go to your app, whatever you're using, hopefully Samsung, just go to the store, and then you just type financing, and you'll get a bunch of apps, right? But again, as I mentioned, either Mint, Truebill, or Every Dollar. I personally use Every Dollar. I think it's fantastic. I'm not sure what some of the others are using, and maybe they can address that as we kind of go through the panel, but any of those will be fantastic, right? When you create a budget, it'll, as I mentioned, allow you to talk about your income and your expenses. One of the things that you want to do once you determine any amount of saving, right, is that you want to make sure that that's going into a place that's appropriate, right? One of the things that I'll talk about a little bit later is kind of making sure that if you have savings and you're building towards a sizable amount of savings, you're putting it towards a high yield savings account, right? And you can leave it in a credit union, right? But maybe the interest is not what it could be, right? And so that's when you have to look. So just maybe write down high yield savings account, and that's something that you could utilize. Yes, just write down your questions, and I will come back to all of them. I just want to go through a few other things that you should have. So you have to create a budget. That's fundamental, right? The other thing that you need to do is to build an emergency fund, right? Because that's for any unexpected or critical expenses that will come your way, right? And I think we can all attest, right, whether you are a student or you are a young professional or a mature professional, right, that unexpected expenses just come, right? They come out of nowhere, right? We pray for safety and we pray. But we are also given the wisdom, right, and the understanding that things will come, right? We were not promised that everything would be rosy. So you have to make sure that you put together an emergency fund, and that needs to be defined oftentimes. And I'll let the panelists maybe define what they kind of understand as emergency fund as well, right? Because this is something that I had to think about. Because when I wanted to travel, I was like, okay, well, I have money in my emergency fund. This is an emergency to me, right? And it was like, it was a Europe trip. I was like, this is an emergency. I want to do this. But that's not the definition of an emergency, right? Losing your job, right? And having to navigate, finding a job within the next 2 months. That's a period of emergency, right? Because you have no additional income coming in. So that's one of the things that I would mention. But I wanted to ask, what do you guys define as an emergency? For an emergency fund, why would you dip into your emergency fund?
Okay. So what is an emergency? That's a good question. Yeah. So, Esther is an emergency, but I think not a fund. Yeah. So I will talk, when I was single, okay? So I rarely go to the hospital, okay? God blessed me with good health, okay? Yeah, but, sometimes maybe your tooth will just start aching and thing. So in my budget, I didn't really have a portion for, the hospital for health, okay? And to me, that was an emergency. If I have a health issue, that was an emergency. For example, if somebody in the family is sick or deaf in the family and we have to contribute, for example, I did not have a fund dedicated for that. That was an emergency, okay? I was not going to Chick-fil-A. I didn't know about Chick-fil-A before I met my wife, okay? But Chick-fil-A has never been an emergency, okay? Like, for example, you want to go to, you want to eat chicken, you feel like eating chicken. That is not an emergency, okay? So, yeah. Okay, I don't know about you guys.
I think Dr. Misaki said a couple of things that I wanted to say, but for me now, what is considered as an emergency is my home. So if in case something breaks down, maintaining my home, the upkeep, that's something that I constantly keep money aside. And the money, how I keep my money aside, I'm always big on interest rate, so I always keep it in a CD where I'm going to yield a higher interest rate so I can get more money. So for me now, that's what I consider as an emergency fund.
I'm sorry, I have a blister on my mouth. That's why I didn't want to take
A CD.
Oh, certified. Is it certified direct also? Deposit. Certified. Deposit. Yes, certified deposit. You get a higher interest rate because you promise. So CD stands for certified deposit. The reason why you get a higher interest rate is because you're telling the bank, I'm not going to touch it for a certain amount of amount of time, so they can use it for whatever they want. So if you break it, the one that I like to go by is Ally, because that one, if you break it, whatever you have accrued, they will give it to you. Versus traditional banks that are standing, they will say, peace out, I'm not giving you anything. So, yeah.
So to me, emergency fund, you use it when your car is broken. It's broken, and then it has to be fixed. You don't use a credit card. You use the money in your fund. If you have a house and then there is a pipe that is broken, that's what you use. Of course, when you're sick, what else? That's what I can think of.
It's the majority of it.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, so there's a few things, right? So defining an emergency. So if you, for example, think that you have an emergency, like my trip, and you should ask counsel, right? That's why we have counsel. The Bible talks about, getting counsel. So you can check with others, right? So I would be able to come and ask Hannah, you know what? I'm thinking about taking this Europe trip. I think it's an emergency. She would be like, no, it's not, And then I would listen to her, right? Because I would know that it's not. So a few things I'm just going to run through quickly, and then I'll pass it on. Items that you should make sure, right? Early professional student, create a budget. Make sure that you build an emergency fund. An emergency fund oftentimes should be about 3 months, right? 3 months, and this is also one that I had to learn recently, is that the emergency fund is the it's not the net income, right? But it's what you have left over after you pay taxes, and I think that's your net income, right? That's your net income. But after you pay taxes, right, how much you get, that's how much you need to save 3 months of, right? Because initially I was thinking, well, I need to save the gross, right? And that balloons because you're including taxes and everything else, but you don't live off of that. You've paid that off, right? So when you're doing that number, make sure that you do 3 months of the net income that you use in, that you receive, right, during the month. So 3 to 6 months. 6 months is great. Oftentimes as an early professional, as a student, that's not feasible, right? So go for 3 months. And if you can't meet 3 months, start at 1 month, right? Just start somewhere, because things that are unexpected often happen, right? Or not often, but they do happen. So build an emergency fund, contribute to something like a 401k if you have it, especially as an early professional. Your employer will also match a portion of that. So whatever you don't match is money that you are just throwing away, right? Because they're literally giving you that money, right? You're not doing anything additional. If they say they're matching 4%, the minimum you should do is 4%, right? Even if you can't do a single dollar above that, do that, because then you get 4% for free. That's just money that they give you every single time, right? So make sure that you contribute to a 401k and that you're doing a match. It doesn't matter if you're doing the Roth, which is post-tax, or if you're doing a traditional. Prefer traditional, but if, for some reason you prefer one of the, you want to do one or the other, you can do either. And then pay off any high-interest credit cards you have. Pay off any private student loans you have. You want to start out with the high-interest credit cards, clearly, because you get charged, right? I think I had a credit card, and this is maybe talking a little bit too much, but I had a Chase $12,000 credit card, and then I got behind, and I think my minimum payment were $250. Right? But they were charging me interest of $200. So that meant every time I paid just the minimum payment, only $50 went back to pay 10,000, a portion of 10,000. It was like I was never going to pay that off, right? So those high interest credit cards, you want to make sure that you address first, right? You want to address those first after you have an emergency savings. Because if you focus so much on paying a credit card off and an emergency happens, you've just doubled your trouble, right? Because you still have those payments and you don't have anything to mitigate that risk, right? So you want to mitigate the risk by first having an emergency savings fund, and then you want to deal with high interest credit cards. One of the things that you should definitely consider doing is paying off any private student loans. If you have any federal student loans, you're in much better place. You mentioned consolidation. That's definitely something that is recommended. If you have private, the reason it's recommended is because you have usually higher interest rate. If you have federal, it stays pretty low, and it stays across the board.
5%.
Yes, yeah. And with the federal, really, you can 20 years and then they'll forgive you, right? Or Joe Biden, God willing, will give us, student loan forgiveness sometime soon here. And then the very last thing, right, would be tackling any low interest loans that you have, right? You may have a credit card, not a credit card, but like a car payment, right, that you have, right? Oftentimes those are low interest. If there's not, then you want to aggressively target those as well, just like you're doing credit cards. So create a budget, build an emergency fund, contribute to your 401k or savings, pay off high interest credit cards, pay off private student loans, and then tackle the low interest loans or anything else that you have there. And then just to kind of round that for the budgeting, right? That's one thing that I had to learn more recently. When you're budgeting, it sounds like, oh, I'm saving. Well, what are you saving for, right? I had to create buckets. Why? Because I want to get married. And by evidence of my own sister's wedding, right, I found out that weddings cost a lot of money. right? So you then need a budget for like marriage. Like that's, you set a number and you set a certain amount of time. Now, again, when I was talking to this with the pastor, he said, you know, you don't need to save $50,000 to get married, right? You can do it, right? You know that you can do it, right? You obviously want to have a wonderful wedding. It's a celebration, right? But you don't need to, you know, make something ridiculous. But once you have a number, you set that number and you set how long it will take you to meet that number. You oftentimes want to have a bucket for vehicle, right? For a home purchase, for travel, and for core savings, right? So you say, I have a savings account, right? But in that portion, you create little buckets, right? And those go towards certain thing. So whenever you decide, I want to take a trip to Europe, like I wanted to, if I haven't met my travel budget for that, right, then I know I cannot. I have to go to Puerto Rico instead, right? And then that depleted that money, and that means I need to restart from zero to build something. And that brings about self-control. Yes, you do need to have self-control. All right, so that covers really the early professional and students, so I'll pass it on to him. Sorry.
I just want to make first, just a comment on it. Yeah, then I think we will do them and then I'll finish. And this is usually for the men, okay? Our definition of budget is different from the ladies, okay? And, I got to say it, okay? Because, when somebody come to me and ask me, Musaki, do you have any money? I need something. If in my bank account, in my saving account, there is $1,000, I said, oh, yeah, I got $1,000. But this is all I have. If I spend that $1,000, I got zero, nothing, nothing. I can even buy a sandwich, okay? That's what a man do. A lady, when you go ask her, do you have some money? No. But she has $20,000 in her bank account, in her savings.
Checking is zero.
Yeah, checking is zero, but in the savings there is $20,000. But she will tell you, I don't have any money. Why? Because in her budget, the money is saving. The money is not to help you. Okay? And so when John say have a budget, to the men have a budget, okay? Yeah, so budget those little money that people will come and ask you and all of that. And make sure your saving keep growing up, Don't $0 in your saving, that's not saving. That means that you don't have a budget. You are living above your means. Okay, all right. Okay, move to.
So for this next section, Hannah is going to start, and then I will continue.
Okay, so to be honest, just putting me on a spot. I did not prepare this. I didn't know brainstorm anything. I'm going to share it with you from my heart, from just my experience, because we have a lot of young people, and then I just wanted to encourage them, because financial freedom, I think God wants us to be free in all aspects of our lives, including finances. So this is something that God taught me from the early age, as soon as I finished college. That's when I started really becoming a true Christian, and both of my feet were in the Christian life, because when I was in the college, was one feet, and then another feet was still in the world. So I don't even know how I get it, because of the church I used to go to, they never taught us about Pastor Dyer. He never talked about money, giving. So my first job, my first paycheck, something was telling me, give it to God, give it. I didn't want to. I disobeyed. I didn't want to give it. I thought it was a lot of money. Then by that time, that's when God started teaching me to tithe. Tithing is very important. You cannot separate it from financial freedom. I'm not going to preach, but it's something that has helped me in my financial freedom, and then like a life. So as soon as I finished college, that's when I started tithing every single month. The first few months, it was so hard, very hard. You feel like, oh my God, it's a lot of money. But as the more you do it, the more it becomes easier. It becomes even a joy to give. Where I am now is that's the first thing I want to do. As soon as I see my pay, I just want to go ahead and pay my tithe. Then it was a time for me to to buy a house, and I was so lucky. That's a good thing about being the house of God. That time, my church was teaching. We had a class by David Ramsey. I don't know if you ever have heard it. The Peace University, Financial Peace University. That class helped me a lot. So my encouragement is educate yourself. Educate yourself is very, very important. It helped me from insurance, from the house, from every little thing, to the point that I went to get a loan, and this guy was like, "Where do you get all of this from?" From Financial Peace University. I was like, you're very smart. So I saved the money. Going back, when I finished college, I have a huge credit card. Actually, I had two, almost 15,000 on both. And on top of that, I had my school loan. Let me tell you, once you use that credit card, it's so easy. But when you pay it, it is so hard. It's very hard. It hurt me to pay the whole thing, to the point that I knew it. I knew that if I was not going to put my finances in order, I would not be able to worship God the way that's supposed to. Because giving is a part of worship. How are you going to give as much as you want to if you owe a lot of money? You know that you have a 15,000 credit card, and then you want to give, but you know that money you should be paying for, because that money doesn't belong to you. You are a slave to those companies. So it hurt me to the point that I had to work overtime and then pay everything, the rent, everything, and then the rest I will have to pay. My advice, if you want to get rid of credit card, just cut it. Take a season, cut it in half. That's it. You're done. Because we have to be free. You have to be free. So I borrowed my house, and this guy was like, if I could wait for 2 years, I would have been able to buy a house, at least pay half the whole thing. For those who don't know, mortgage, the word mortgage, literally, it means death pledge. So you see, that's how the devil get us into bondage. It's a death pledge. So we should not even be having mortgages. As the children of God, we should be able to pay house. Some of you, they are young people. Seriously, if you put into your mind, you should buy house cash. That guy told me in a bank, if you could have waited for 2-3 years, you could have borrowed your house cash. But I was so young and I was so excited. I was like, wait, 3 more years? But I wish you for have listened. I'll have been able to pay cash. So credit cards, just carry them. And then from tithing, God started talking to me, because the more you read the Bible, the more the more you know, the more responsible you are. And then you have, the Torah does the other day that you have to work the Torah. So you have to do not only you cannot read the word, you have to apply it. So I started reading, and this is verse in Proverbs 3, verse 9. It says, honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruits of your crops. Then your barns will be filled to the overflowing, and your vats will brim over with a new wine. This is very powerful. Honor the Lord with your wealth. How are you going to honor the Lord with your wealth? If you have a credit cards, if you have a debts here and there, everywhere. Because when it's time to give, you are even scared. You don't have a peace. And then God says, give cheerfully, cheerfully, cheerfully. So God told me to give the first fruit. Let me tell you, I thought I was giving. I was like, this church, they got a lot of money. We give them a lot of money. But it is a blessing. You cannot believe it. I am not going to say that I am where I'm supposed to be, because right now I've been given the first fruits for the last probably 8-9 years. My first paycheck of the year, I gave it sometime to the church, to the ministries. And my prayer is that I will be able to give the first paycheck of the whole month, not just for 2 weeks. So because I have seen the blessings of God, sometimes the blessings of God are not tangible. They are not. I mean, you sleep well, you see the favor of God at work, the peace you have in your heart, you cannot compare it to anything. So sometimes we feel that God, if he's going to, we're going to see our barns filled, it doesn't mean that you're going to have the most beautiful car, the most beautiful house. It's just even God keeping you from being in a hospital, keeping you from being a handicap, or just losing your mind. So these are the things that really bring blessings. We all know the Malachi is a 3. Yes, is just as the young people, is the things that you really want to start practicing. Of course, this goes with prayers. Prayers. One time, I think it was the last year or the year before, I prayed, I was like, God, anoint me to give more. I'm not going to say the number, but I gave the money. I was like, oh my God, this is too much. But I gave it freely, cheerfully. I'm so happy. I feel like nothing is missing. So it's just to encourage somebody. Pray for a spirit of self-discipline. And then the spirit of discernment, because it doesn't mean that you are a Christian, that you have to give. Everyone will say, give, that you have to give. No. Sometimes, most of the time, you have to pray about it and then ask God for discernment. Do I have to give? And then if you have those debts that are not paid, you shouldn't even be given anything besides the tithe. I respect the tithe because you don't want to rob God. You can rob people, but please don't rob don't rob God, because I think
We're going to scratch that from the recording.
Okay, forget it. Okay, another thing I wanted to say is just a sacrifice. You have some time to sacrifice to God. You know, sacrifice, just give something, sacrifice to please God. I just wanted to encourage anybody. I didn't have that much to say.
I guess it's my turn. I'm sitting here listening to Hannah, and I'm trying not to tear up because she's a living example of what God really helped me with. So I'm going to talk about my process and how God blessed me with a home. It's funny how you said that, because there's three little phrases that I live by, which is give generously, save wisely, and live simply. And that's how I have kind of like structured my life around. Give generously, save wisely, and live simply. And that's how I kind of like, that's my life in that sense. So I'm going to talk about 5 mistakes to avoid during home buying process. I always tell people the ability for me to own a home is a blessing. It's something that God has, I think of the past 2 weeks, I was talking to a friend, and God opened my eyes to see that from my family, he has set me apart, and how faithful he's been to me. The reason why I chose to buy a home was because, my parents, I'm not from a rich family. And, sometimes, I see how my parents struggled and things like that. And I remember I would see my peers, and, I remember one of them would say, oh, I'm going to buy a house. My grandfather gave me $60,000. And I'm like, $60,000, And to me, it's like, sometimes we talk about systematic racism and things like that, but sometimes it's not. We have God. And I think we have God, especially being foreign born and things like that, being in this country and being black or African American, whatever you may want to call it. But we have God who gives wisdom freely. He gives resources freely. If you ask him, he's going to lead you. He's going to direct you. He's going to connect you. When men say no, he say yes. And that to me is what drives me. I go by this statement, and I remember I said to someone one day, you will never have unless you ask. So if you're not going on your knees to pray about it, you're not going to have it. So to me, and that is what drives me a lot. I chose to buy a home is because I'm using it. My home I consider it my investment property. I want one day to be able to sell that house and give it to my kids and say, here, start your life. And that to me will set them up on a good foundation. Definitely Christianity is the strongest foundation we may have, but at the same time, tangible things, I want them to be able to have it. I don't want them to be able to, in the end, have to go still beg for anything when the Lord has given me the opportunity to go before them and set the path for them. So that's why I wanted to buy it. So I call my home the investment property. I made mistakes in the process of doing it. And I've learned from that. And from that, I've chosen generously is giving people advice. If you need help, I will make up time. That my time is giving my time to you generously to tell you this is what you should avoid and things like that. So I said buying a home is an incredible blessing. I'm sure many of you guys have looked at Pinterest and looked at the type of homes that you want. I'm looking at my second home, my family home, and how I want it to be and things like that. But at the same time, in the meantime, I'm taking care of my investment, which is my home right there. The first thing, and I think Hannah said it, John said it, get rid of your debt. That's number one. I'm talking about 5 things. The first one is get rid of your debt. Before I bought my home, I lived in an apartment. I've lived in an apartment for a couple of times, but I remember I don't know why I just randomly, when my friend told me $60,000, I was like, man, Lord, how am I going to be able to afford this? Because I can't necessarily ask my parents for the down payment. I have to save up for it. So I was like, okay, research. So I found out how much I was paying in terms of rent. And where I was living, I moved to Baltimore because it's cheaper, one of the cheapest places to live in Maryland for me to be able to keep saving. So I moved to Baltimore, and I was like, okay, if I'm paying $300 less than someone who own a home, I'm not necessarily saving much, and I'm not investing much. I might as well own a property. Thank God. I purchased my home before all of a sudden the market went up. So now the value of my home, I have gained a lot of equity because I remember I bought it, I was strategic about it. And I said, okay, I'm going to buy in a place where if I want to sell it, it's going to be easy for me to sell it. So that's how I did it. How am I going to get rid of debt? So I thought about that. Okay, all right. I want to get rid of every other debt, so even the one that I'm going to accumulate while I'm living in that house. So if I have equity, I can just cash it in and say, okay, this is what I want to leave my children, or this is what I want to set my foundation up, and not have to pay for my second home with, loans or anything. So it could be something we can give up. So 1, get rid of your student loans. This is how I set it up for me. I had a lot of student loans. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be transparent. I had $60,000. Now, no. So this is how I had $60,000, guys. $60,000, 40 was undergrad, 20 was grad school, because I paid 80% of my grad school out of pocket. So that's how I did it. But with that, what I did with that one is I looked at all my student loans. John said it, private loans, you have high interest rate. So Dave Ramsey, his process, the snowball effect, I used it. Before I found out that it was him who was doing that, I believe it's God who gave me the wisdom. I looked at the interest rate. I was okay, they're charging me 20%. No, it was 12%. Sally Mae, thank God they went out of business. So Sally Mae was charging me 12% interest rate for a private loan. And what I did, I set up all my student loans. I said, okay, we are going to get rid of the highest interest rate first. So what I did, living simply, meaning I'm not eating out. Costco became my best friend. This is why I love Costco, because whatever that I eat a lot, I will buy in bulk. Cook it, freeze it, saving money. In the end, I was like, we're not going out. If your friends, once in a while you want to splurge. When I splurge, meaning I'm the appetizer, because I have a goal. This is what I want to do. So I stopped eating out. That's one thing I started doing. I love to travel. What I did when I'm traveling, I monitor Southwest. When they're having their sale, I'm buying my ticket, $50. That's what I do. When I'm traveling, I stay with friends. That's how I save money with hotels. So get rid of your student loans. Thank God, and I'm going to be transparent again. I haven't been paying my student loans because of Joe Biden. So I know. So what I've been trying to do now. Oh goodness. Okay, all right. Back to me. Thank you. So what I've been trying to do is like the money that I'm using, that I'm supposed to use towards my student loans, I'm saving it. That's what I'm doing. Because as soon as he say he's going to resume it, knock them all out. 0%. So by God's grace, I have less than $20,000 remaining of my student loan. That's what I want to tell you guys. It's like, get rid of that. Hannah said it. Get rid of credit cards. I use credit card now because I want the points for my godchildren. I have a lot of godchildren. I'm like, so what I do is like the points. I know if I eat at a restaurant, they give me double points. Guys, look, I'm frugal. I think frugal is a blessing. And I think I'm quite frugal, and I try to beat the system as much as I can. So if you are going to give me points, which is equivalent to dollars, then I'm going to swipe my credit card every time I'm going to go and eat out. And that, in turn, those points is what I'm going to use as gift cards for my godchildren. That's how I save money with them. Many people don't know, apart from me spending time with them. So get rid of your debt right there. Before you go, make sure credit card also impacts how much you're going to get from a lender. So if your credit score is bad, it's probably being pulled down by credit card debt. If you're not paying your credit card on time, I had to learn this from a financial advisor who I befriended. He said to me, look, the first 15 days is when after the first 15 days is when they report it to the 3 bureaus. So if you do not pay it at that time, that late payment is in the end is going to mess up your credit score. So if you don't have the money now, even though the interest rate may be high, if you can pay the minimum, try to pay it, but stop putting more money on it. And ask family members if they can loan you that money, pay off your credit card. That's what I would say to do. Like I got to one point one day I was like trying to pay off one of my car. I called my aunt. I said, hey, would you give me a loan for $1,000? I'll pay you back. Give me a month. She gave me the loan. I paid off my car. That's it. So if you can ask family members to give you that loan where you may not have to pay interest rate on it, to get rid of that, if you're thinking about buying a house, do it. Because once you have that, when you go to a lender and they pull your credit score, and in the end, that's going to make you high risk, and they're not going to give you a good interest rate. So you have to think about that. So that's the first thing. Sorry. The second one is pay 20% of your home. Most people, I think first home buyers, what they do is like they would give you 3% or something that you have to pay for your down payment. But I prefer conventional. For conventional, say put 20% down. To me, I see that you own 20% of your home. Think about it that way. So if you can save up and get 20%, and I think the last time we did this, you may be approved for $300,000. Look at your budget. If you have tilapia money, don't try and go get shrimp money or lobster money. I'm serious. Yeah. Like, yeah. I mean, see? She said it's not a real fish, but cut your coat according to you. Like, I'm really serious. You don't have to show off to people. When I got I was pre-approved for $300,000. I looked at my budget. I said, Akuya, how much can you afford and live comfortably? And where can you live? It doesn't matter. Who cares? They're renting. You have an investment. You don't have to show off to anyone. In the end, when they go back to their parents' home or whatever, you have to deal with your mess. So you don't have to show off to anyone. So pay off 20%. If you can do conventional, I would say do it. If you can't, it's still okay. Pay as much as you can. Another friend that I talked to in Baltimore, a lot of people don't like to live in Baltimore, but they're trying to regenify Baltimore. So what they're doing is like they will give people incentives to live in Baltimore. I work for the state health department. They have like, if you have a certain amount of student loans, they will forgive you for that if you live in Baltimore. So that's another incentive. If you buy a home in a neighborhood where people are running away from, they will give you a certain amount of money. So you can use that as an investment, like meaning the neighborhoods are going to change later. Another example I can give you is Johns Hopkins. When you go there, the neighborhood around it was horrible. Now, the house there are $400,000. Before you can buy a house when I was in college, $50,000. When I looked at it, I was like, Father God. I'm like, that could have been me. Like, so to me, half of the time I'm walking around Baltimore, and whenever I'm looking, I was okay, all right, let me look at this neighborhood and look at the comps in the neighborhood and say, okay, can we afford a second home or something like that? To me, it's like, that's how that's how I think. So look for incentives. Remember, it cuts your coat according to your size. Look at your home. What is it going to be for you? Is this going to be your permanent home? If it is, then we're talking about something different. To me, this is my investment, so I don't really care. At this point, I'm thinking about what am I going to gain out of it in the end. So that's one advice I'll also give you. The third one, I think I need to unlock this thing. All right, determine how long you're going to reside in the home. If you're going to live there less than 3 years, it's not worth it. If you're going to live there longer, then it's worth it. I just learned this because I was talking to another friend about possibly selling my home. And I remember as I was talking to her, she was a financial advisor. She said, the money that you get, you have to pay you have to in the end pay taxes on it. So don't sell unless you're ready to buy another one. I did not know that. So in the end, I was like, okay, hold on. Like, I don't want to give them back the money that I've already gained. Because already you're paying 3% to your real estate agent. So if you gain $20,000, start doing the math. You're not going to gain anything out of it. So if you can buy and put it back into another one, if you want to do that, then in the end, you get tax credit on it when you pay your taxes. So that's how you beat the system. So that's another thing I'll also tell you. Think about whether or not, if you have family, is this a place where you can sell the house faster? If you can't sell the house faster, there's no point in doing that unless you want to stay there for a long time, like I said before, in Baltimore, where they're incentivizing people to live in a certain area, which I know is going to change eventually. Think about, is this a place where it's safe if you have a family? I initially, before my brother moved in because of COVID with me, I made sure that I looked at the crime level in my neighborhood. People always think about Baltimore and they're like, crime. Yes, Baltimore is interesting, but I purposely bought my home close to universities, which is 2 miles from all the universities, meaning that there's a lot of like you have families around, and like the patrol is really kind of high. And where I live is also like a family, like a single family, so it's a lot of like older generation people with kids. So think about that as well. I'm gonna go into the fourth one. I don't know why I'm not unlocking, keep it unlocked. The fourth one is don't become house poor. So when I say don't become house poor, remember I said earlier, cut your coat according to your size. And if you buy a house that in the end you're going to live paycheck to paycheck, there's no point in doing that. A financial advisor told me your home should be, the payment should be 25 to 30% after tax. So what I did when I was purchasing my house was like, okay, I looked at my house, I say, if you look at my house, how I have it, I have 3 bedrooms upstairs. The basement is like an apartment in itself. So, but the only thing it doesn't have, which I was planning to do, was put a kitchen, which I can seal off so the person would not, whoever I rent my basement to, would not be able to come upstairs. But I chose not to. But what I did was like, okay, can I rent the basement out? I did that for the first 2 years, and I was charging my basement, with someone living in my basement, for $750. That's how I paid off some of my student loans. So I rent it out. Is this something you can do? Don't become house poor. I looked at it, if I don't have anyone in my home, because I lived in my home for like a year or 2 by myself, I was able to still pay for my mortgage and still at the same time save. So you have to think about that. Is this something that you're going to be able to pay for? Are you going to still be able to contribute towards retirement? If you, health insurance, life insurance, are you still able to do that? If your mortgage is $1,300 and your paycheck is $1,400, there's no point. You're not saving. You know, you have to think about that. The fifth one is do not finance your appliances. It's funny, but it's true. One of my friends, what she does is like she builds houses for people. And I think we were talking about it, and she said, some people finances their appliance. I was like, what? And at that point, I thought about it. She was the one who sold my house to me. And I remember when I bought my house, I did not have washer and dryer because the previous person did not own it. So I had to buy my own. And what I would say is if you can, and if you buy a home that doesn't have, or if you build a house, save up and pay for that because it comes with the house. If it doesn't come with the house, then you know how sometimes if you look at the house, they say new washer dryer. So that's how they advertise it. New kitchen, new this. So to people you have to think about, because buying a washer and a dryer is like $1,500. So you have to think about that. So don't finance your appliance. In the end, it's like, what's the point? Everything else is like the value is going to go down. What are you leaving the next, buyer with? So they can, in the end, when they appraise your house, they can say, okay, minus this, minus that. So the value is going to go down. So that's my advice I would give you guys for that.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. So by this point, I think we have a budget and we have a house. Okay. So now, how do you invest your money? So that's the question. I just want to read a verse right here. I love it. It's Matthew 13, verse 12. Whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken from them. That's the Bible. And if you go talk to an investor, he will tell you this in another way. Do not invest money that you need. Okay? That's the financial translation of this verse. Okay? An example, you're getting married in 6 months. Okay? You look at your budget, you need $30,000. Okay, I have $10,000. Let me, turn it around right quick to make with the $30,000. Now, you need the $10,000, you need it. Do not invest that money, okay? Because you have $10,000, on your wedding day, you're gonna have zero, because it's gonna be taken away from you because you don't have money, okay? So invest money that you don't need. After you have your budget done and everything, and there is a $100 sitting in your bank account that you do not want to go eat at McDonald's, you said, okay, I'm taking this $100 and I'm investing it. So at the moment, you don't care anymore. Not that you don't want to make money, but you don't care if you lose the money. Because if it's gone, anyway, I didn't need the money. It was not, budgeted for something, okay? And at the moment, the $100 is you having more. Okay, and then when you invest it, more will be given to you. Okay, so to me that's the first rule. Okay, any money that I put into investment, I forget about it. If it makes money, it's good. If I lose money, it is good. Okay, I will not cry over it. It hurts, when you see it going down. It hurts seriously, right, okay? Yeah, like right now. Right now, it's not too good. Yeah, but it hurts. But from the beginning, it was money that, wasted. I'm like, forget about it. So, I'm not going to go hang myself, or kill, because, don't worry, babe, I'm not going to do that. Yeah, it is extreme, but people actually did, Yeah, people kill themselves, yeah. They look at it and then, yeah. So I'm not going to do that. So there are multiple ways of investing. I think Jonathan talked about 401k. You have a job. The job, they will contribute, and just match. If, like Jonathan said, if they will match you to up to 4%, just do it, because that's an extra, so that's free money that will be given to you. So just do that, okay? I think Anna talked about CDs, I think.
I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah. She talked about CDs. CDs also are a very good way of investing. Yeah, you take money. Yeah, you have money. You can go and check later and how CDs work, so you can put money on the CD. Just try not to touch that money. Yeah, and then it's gonna grow. Give you interest. Right. The best way I will not say the best way, but the quick way of investing is investing like everybody invests, like the bank invests, like all these big thing invest. They just go to the market. They go, and that's the stock. That's where they go invest. When you put your money at the bank take your money, say thank you. They invest it. They make more money with your money, and then they give you like a 0.5% interest. But they made 10% interest or 15% interest. Okay, so to me, I always think that the best way of investing is, go straight to the stock market. So in the stock market, I would just say, there are multiple ways or today with your phone or your computer. I use a Webull. I think you use a Robinhood. I think there is a Momo. You use Charles Schwab's, even E-Trade, there is, and there are so many ways you can, application that will help you to go and invest. You just open an account and then you put money in there, you buy a stock, and you wait, okay? So you have strategy of investing or short-term or long-term, okay? And you can define your short-term, you can define your long-term, so that's up to you. To me, I am aggressive when I trade. Do not follow me. Short term is 2 weeks, 3 weeks. That's short term for me. And long term to me is a month, 2 months. And sometimes a little bit longer. So diversify your portfolio, okay? So you don't put all your money in one egg, okay? So for example, we invested a lot of money into electrical company because we know that electrical company, that's the future for cars, okay? So we invested money in there. So the idea, when you look at the graph, short term will have given us good money, so you put money, you take back, and then you invest, and then you just multiply the money. Okay, and by doing short term, you will accumulate, value, right quicker than doing long term, because long term, the more your money is sitting doing nothing, you're losing money. Let me put it this way. And this is also one way of it's going to be taken from you, okay? You have, I think you have, for example, $1,000. You take that $1,000, you go put it in the bank. With my savings account, I think the interest is 0.5%, I think, is, less than 1%. You put your $1,000 in the bank, you come back 10 years later, maybe it's only $1,050. Sure. And inflation went up. When I got here in America, gas was about 95 cents. Today is about $4, okay? So, on this time, you only make $50 out of 1,000, you lost money. They took money, yeah. And the other thing is when you invest, don't be too greedy. Don't think that you're going to double your money within a month or, within a year, okay? If that happened, thank Lord, okay? But don't be too greedy. What I do, for example, I make 10%. When I put, I want 10% return, which is already huge. If you guys, it's huge. the reason why I chose 10% was arbitrary. First of all, yeah, we have tithing. That's at 10%. If God wants 10%, so 10% is a good idea. Okay? So that's how I decided on 10%. So, for example, I buy a stock, for example, today, $500. If it's a short term, I will let's say the stock, is $9, just to make it easy, $9. I will look at, okay, what is the probability that this stock here within 2 weeks to go to $10? There is a high probability. Okay, then I will buy the stock, and I will explain a little bit how I get to the probability. Okay, so then I will buy the stock, and then I will wait for 2 weeks. Now, if within the 2 weeks I get to $10, I'm ready to sell. Now, my greediness will be like I will be checking every day. Maybe it can go to $11, or maybe you think, okay? Because I'm already at $10, so I already have my 10%, which was my target. And sometimes you are too greedy, it went to 11, you're like, no, maybe I can make it to 12. And then it goes down. But once it starts going down, I still have my cutoff. Okay, it's $10. I will still gonna get my 10%. Okay, but just don't be too greedy. All right. So how do I look at the probability? So you can go look it in even on YouTube. A lot of financial people tells you, like in physics, that everything go by energy. So you have stage. Okay, when you have, for example, you can go look at any stock, so you're gonna see it's a graph, right? It's go up and down, or it's continue to go up. Yeah. Some people like to invest in upward trends, so you know that it's going up, it's gonna go up, and you're gonna make money. Okay, which is good, but at the same time, you don't know, something can happen tomorrow in the market, it can go down. Okay, so what I do is I invest in the one that go up and down, not upward, not downward, but it just go up and down. So look within 6 months. If within 6 months I can see about 6 peak, okay, then I know that within a month you can go from low to up, up to down. And then I look, the 6 peak, for example, do I go from, I'll go the same example. If the top, for example, is $9 and the peak, it goes to $11, I know that, I can reach my 10% interest, okay? Then I will get that stock, and then I will monitor it. I will monitor when the stock get to close to $9, I will buy the stock. And I know that at least within a month, I have a higher chance for it to go to 10%, to $10, because for the last 6 months, that's what happened, unless really the market goes down. Okay, and that's my strategy of investing. But the advice I will give is you just go, try your way. Like the lady says, there are a lot of information online. Just try to learn about it, read about it, and then come up with your own investment strategy. And then just, get your feet wet, Yeah.
Thank you, guys. I think we'll close it here. I don't know if there are any questions. We can take them maybe in...
We have time. We're good.
Oh,
we have time.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, on the investment. So, for instance, you invested in a very good company, it's going, but then all of a sudden an accident occurred, and now everything, because of the news, it's just dropping, and you didn't see it drop. But you know there is hope in the company. Do you take your money out because it's dropping, or you want to leave your money in for it to just grow? What do you do?
Okay, so there is, you're gonna also, as you invest, you're gonna develop a strategy of recouping your money, okay? Some people they just close their eyes, I don't care, I lost money, I'm just gonna sell, and then try to reinvest to try to, accumulate money again, okay? The way I do it, I will not say that So let's just take an example. We have NEO right now, right? We were about 60, close to about $54 a share, okay? And right now we are about $35, okay? Yeah, that is that. Yeah, that is emerging. Okay, so that's about $20 a share. Imagine you have 100 share. We're talking about $2,000. Imagine you have 1,000 share. That's $20,000. Okay, so you see $20,000. You lost $20,000. Now, personally, me, when I bought the share that I have for NEO, it was $26. Wow. Yeah. Okay, so $26, 10%. Is what? Is $28, around $28, $29. So if NEO does not go below 29, I still made my 10%. Right? Yeah. So as we got to $54, I was so happy. Of course, if I sold right there, I would be the happiest man in the world, right? Yeah. But I lost money considering $54, but I still made money considering $27, right? So what I decided is because I'm not below my 10% that I decided to do, I will not sell because I know that NEO will go back. I predicted that NEO will get to the $100, just like Tesla today is about what, $700, $800? Yeah. So I predicted that that's the future of NEO. Okay, so I'm not losing money. Technically, I'm not losing money on NEO yet. It's upsetting, but I'm not losing money yet. So what I decided is I will not sell them. I will just keep it, go back to 54 or to 100. I will ride the wave. Okay, so you make that decision. Yeah, and but what is important is decide your 10% or your 5% or your 2% interest. That's the most important decision that you have to make. And you make that decision before you buy the stock, not after. And when you have that strategy, then okay, so for example, when I see that NEO get to $27, I will sell because I don't want it to get to $26. Yeah. But I'm still above the 10%, so I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah. Investments are about risk, right? Risk assessment, just the amount of risk that you want to take, right? So I've bought some, and like they said, it goes up to 54, it goes up to 100, and you're like, yes, I'll make, and that, he said, don't be greedy, but, you got to pray for the strength not to be greedy, because sometimes you see the numbers and you're like, the Lord is clearly blessing me. And He is. And you have that blessing, and you need to get out. But, yeah. So.
When you see the money go up, what do you do?
Let's give you a
What? Oh, it's okay. When you see the money go up, what do you do?
Guys, answer the question. When you see the money go up, what do you do?
When you see, so it depends on your strategy, as you mentioned. If it's 10% and you're going to be very strict about a 10%, then you would take out your money, right? And you can even set. One of the great things about most of these apps, you can set, right? When it gets to a certain price, you can set a high price. So if you bought it at 26 and you put on the app, one hits 30, sell it, right? Oftentimes, the issue is that we don't set that bar. And so when although your number was 30, when it hits 54, you're like, this is amazing. And the trend may continue, right? But it has ebb and flows. And so you have to decide. If you want to be very strict, then you set a marker and it sells at that time. Because if you don't, then that's oftentimes when the greed sometimes kicks in. Yes. And you listen, I'm not married, but you listen to your wife if you're married. Yes.
Other questions?
I have a comment to make because I feel like we have a gap here, and I would like to fill it in since I recently went through that experience. So we have 2 high school students here, and I just wanted to talk about some of my mistakes so you guys will not make the same mistake. And hopefully, if you guys have siblings, y'all can share with that. So after undergrad, I wanted to indulge in the adult life. So I told myself I'm not moving back to my dad's house. I'm going to rent my own home. Living in Miami is very expensive. So I went ahead and rent $1,500 home. I called it my home because it was my little home. It was my little sanctuary. I went to a gated community, very rich community. I was like, yeah, now I'm living on my own. I can have my friends over whenever I want to, which was I call it the biggest mistake I've ever made, because I spent 2 years away, and if you do the math, that's $36,000 and up that I could have saved throughout those 2 years. So I will say, after college, move back to your parents' house, okay? Move back to your parents' house because you can save a lot of money. I ended up losing my car, too, throughout those 2 years. It was really hard. On top of that, my mom cut me off right after I graduated. That's another story because I changed my major. I didn't tell her. So she cut me off for those 3 months. I had to figure it out on my own. Another thing as well, there's a lot of scholarship out there. There's a lot of money, you guys. Like, you can even get scholarship because you both are twins. I'm serious. So look for scholarships because there's a lot of money out there, and so you don't have to be in debt like most of us are. So yes, an undergrad, try to not take loans. I mean, there's a lot of money. Apply for financial aid. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share.
Let me just let me add something on what and just said, and not just the undergrad. I think there are still people at college, right? You can do college with no loans. You can do it. Look at me. You can do it. You can do it. Yeah, it's we think that we cannot. You can, and you can still have your GPA that you want. You can. You're just gonna have to sacrifice. Okay. A lot of us got here in America, we don't have a father or a mother that will, go sign for you. And yeah, that's job that, at that time was paying what, $11, $10, $11. Go work. You can do it. I finished college with $5,000 loan. Why $5,000? Because I wanted to establish credit. And then I was told that having a loan was good. $5,000, that's how much I finished with. Some people, you heard here, $40,000, $50,000. Yeah, you can do it, and, you go to work, you work at night. Of course, now, you're not going to have Mardi Gras. You're not gonna have, all of those, but you can do it. If you can get a job, you can pay for your school fees and eat and still have an excellent GPA. Now, when you go to professional school, if you want to go to medical school, and now there I understand. It's difficult. It's almost impossible. Yeah, you're going to have to get a loan or financial aid and so on. Yeah, and some grad school. If you go to grad school, science, I got paid to get my PhD in biology. Okay? So, again, no loan. Yeah. So you can go through school and no loan, but you need to make that decision now. And just like they said, those loans gonna follow you for many years after you graduate. Yeah, so don't make, if you can not make that mistake, don't make that mistake.
And Mato, let me just also add this. I think some people come out of state, and then when they're 4 years, they can change to be in state, so they reduce their loan. Right, but what they do is that they won't change. I think one kid had a friend like that. She didn't change 4 years. No, why do you do that? And then another thing is that if your parents If your parents have a house and you have good schools around you, go to schools that are around you, right? There's no shame in that. You don't need to go and spend money staying somewhere when your parents can take care of you, and that will cut costs. And also, there are some programs that, let's say you're undergrad. Some of the undergrads even get to be teaching assistants. Do it, right? And then you are doing some master's program, can pay for your tuition for you, and then do teaching, and even give you some stipend as well. So if you go to school, investigate, do your work. There are some that you are going to benefit from the campus. Do the work. And don't go to another state because everybody is traveling outside. If you have good school at where you are, go. Like for me, I have to convince my children. In the future, I have to talk to them because there are a lot of schools here in North Carolina. You understand it? Yes, so I have to convince them now. I have to just make sure that I get a good bargaining power, and then my children will listen to me and my wife. And then you take care of them, right? You can go drive and go and come, always. Nothing will happen to you. You finish school, no debt, debt-free. Because most of the debt that you are carrying, you can use it to pay your mortgage, or you can use it to even start a business, a company. Amen.
And one of the things I would say, if you choose, and it is wiser to obviously go closer to school, but let's say, I don't know, you're in Minnesota, right? And the school that you want to go to is at UNC, right? There are things that you can do, right? Plan, right? You know, you can plan ahead. Like if you're a sophomore or a junior, right? You start to look at, okay, if UNC or 3 of these schools are the schools that I'm going to go to, how am I going to finance this? Because the obstacle is the finance. The obstacle is not the fact that the university, you know, we want, obviously all parents want you to have the best education, right? But they also want you to have a future that's not burdened by debt. So if you say, I want to go to UNC, okay, well, what are some of the things that I can do to mitigate that risk? That may mean being an RA, right? That's a resident, right? Yeah. And that means, right, that you are living and you are certainly monitoring students, but that means you have paid, right, for your board, your room and board, right? So you kind of list out what some of those expenses are, and then you even identify how you're going to mitigate that, right? And one of the great things that you can do, you can even bring that in your resume. Because you guys, one of the things you're going to start to do is, what school do I want to go to? And you're going to plan for that. You're going to plan for a school visit. You're going to plan for all of these things. Plan similarly for how you're going to address the financial aspect, right? And then use that, right? I mean, we've seen some students that come and they're like, they have the budget that they had and all of these things. And one of the great things is like, how amazing, right? Because we don't see a lot of other students that are doing it. So you yourself just take that incentive and doing it will put you ahead of a lot of other students, right? And it's just good exercise because everything else that you choose to do later in life, you will need to put together a plan for it. So.
Okay.
Your advisors receive a lot of emails, a lot of scholarship, and they pick and choose who they want to give those scholarship opportunities to. First of all, you're black. Second, you're a woman. You're already at a disadvantage. But if you approach, you show that you interested. So you have to ask. Don't be scared to ask. I mean, you earned it. It's your money. You deserve it. You guys are smart students, so yes.
Just a quick comment. I wanted to ask Musaki to just chime in a little bit on the life insurance, just because it's something also that I think is important to address. Oh, student loan.
I know a lot. I don't know where this mindset came from about a lot of going to a lot of prestigious schools, but the education is still the same.
Disagree.
It's really the same.
Disagree.
UNC, Duke. In fact, Duke is just gonna mess up your GPA. That's what they're gonna do to you.
Disagree.
It's all the same program. It's all the same thing. My sister.
No, I think I get what he's saying.
Yeah.
He said he disagreed because there's some schools that may not have a lot of resources.
Well,
That's why.
But it still ends up coming up to you.
No, you're right. In the end, you still go to the same. You pay. You get the same pay if you get the same job. I get that. But I think
It depends on what major you are doing. Like.
so. But they don't have the resources. So, for example, I can give you an example. The
Okay.
state school in Maryland, like Coppin State, Bowie State, all these states, they don't have the same resources as if you went to University of Maryland.
For what program?
Nursing.
Okay, see, but that's a specific program.
You don't have the same. So at that point, it's like, yes, is this? I get it, but I think it's the resources.
It's very minute. What you guys are talking about is the difference between somebody spending $20K to get a graduate degree and somebody spending, like if you are gonna do certain programs, just go to the in-state school. Like you will far better end up, because like for me, one thing I've realized is I'm happy I went to in-state school. Like undergrad only cost me 20. I went 1 year of 1 year of doctorate degree. My loan ballooned to 75. I was like, good gracious, like it is for me. One thing I feel like that is very much like my sister went to NCCU. She worked at NIH. She has worked at. She's gone very, very far with just going to NCCU.
But she went to UNC. She went to UNC.
But she worked at NIH with NCCU.
But it's not the same. It's not the same. It's not the same.
Yeah, okay.
I think that, all of you are chiming in very good points, but there are, it depends on the program, right? Now, I went to NTC for undergrad, but then when it came to professional school, I went to NTC with Musaki. We get to professional school, we went to better schools, right, for professional schools. Now, if you look at the thing is, if let's say you went to Harvard and you did nursing, okay, and you want to settle with a BSN, bachelor's in nursing and bachelor's in nursing only, and then you walk out of Harvard with $180,000 with a bachelor's in nursing. Duke is not going. Maybe nurses on average are making $70,000. Duke is not going to pay you $150,000 as a BSN nurse. Meanwhile, someone also got nursing from NCCU with $15,000. Both of you are going to make about the same amount. If it's going to increase maybe $5,000, it's not going to be significant. However, so it depends on the program. But let's say we are talking about engineering. Sometimes it's program specific. You go to a school that is so well known for the best engineering. All the best engineering companies are coming right there to recruit. So those who do not go to that kind of school can get other engineering jobs, but it might not be like that. Now, of course, favor can work, and God can obviously work in mysterious ways. Right? David went to NCCU, finished, and got a good company like somebody who went to Harvard. Right? He came out with what? David came out with what? 20,000 student loan or 15,000. Didn't even owe any money. Somebody from Harvard or Stanford could go to Cisco and not even make as much as David made with over 180,000. So I think that good schools Ivy Leagues are there for a reason, right? Otherwise, people will not pay that much to go. But I think that it's program specific. If you tell me that you are going to do nursing and nursing only and end with a bachelor's, I'll tell you that don't go to Duke and then accumulate 150,000 when you can get the same degree at UNC. However, if you tell me that you're going to do maybe something research-wise, nuclear engineering, or something that you are also going to sort of continue that trajectory, then definitely I would say put in the money, and then so it's program specific. Schools obviously matter.
And can I add this?
No. Let me just
say this. This is not school. I'm not going to do yours.
Just one thing, okay? I just want to correct one thing that case, I don't know if you guys have heard about merit-based. Ivy League are merit-based, okay? That's what they are. Duke is not Ivy League, okay? So don't put Duke in there, even though we are there, but we're not there, okay? Yeah, you go to Duke, for college, you're gonna be spending like $40,000 to $50,000 a semester. It's gonna come from your dad, your mom's pocket, or your pocket, okay? And if you want to go do just do a bachelor of nursing, do not go to Duke to do it, because you're not going to have that money, okay? If you get a full scholarship, now it's another story, okay? But now, Ivy League schools are merit-based. Whatever you want to do over there, make sure you have good GPA. Make sure you have extracurricular activity that, I don't know, you play the piano, you are in the theater, whatever, gymnastic, whatever it is, okay? Have a good package and apply. Your application, your admission in all the Ivy League school will not look at your finances. Once you have the application, once you have your admission, that's when now they will determine how much you will pay. Okay, and that will depend if, for example, your parents only make $20,000 a year, and you are black. Okay, so they're not gonna come and charge you like they were gonna charge the daughter of, I don't know, of Obama. Obama, Malia Obama, is paying maybe the full, maybe $80,000 a year, because they are millionaires and all of that. I do not know if your parents are millionaires, but if they're not, they will calculate and see how much. And you might end up paying less than what I paid at NCCU, on the thing, just because of that. And the scholarship, they have scholarship like they have a lot of endowment and all of that. So what I say is, and then the other thing, in college, you go get a degree, yes, but you go also make connection. You go make friends, okay? Yeah, friends, and holy friends, yeah. You get all your friends that you make, are the one that make $15,000 a year. Most likely you're gonna be there because you're gonna make the same mistake as them. Okay, you go get friends that make like 100 or 200, you're going to get closer to that because, they will advise you. They will be like, you're making a mistake. Go buy a house. Why are you staying in an apartment? And you're not investing your money right, because you're going to have your friends working for the hedge fund, whatever. He's going to tell you, but come on, what you doing? You invest in this, invest in that. So before you know it, you're going to get there as well. So your choice of your college is very important. You're going to boost. If you get a very good GPA, you get a very, you are very attractive. If you can make it to a Ivy League, do not hesitate. Go to the Ivy League school. Mommy, daddy going to cry a little bit, but at the end of the day, when they're going to do the math, you're going to be, very successful, and you're going to be like, thank you, Lord. Yeah. Amen.
So, Mr. Aki, thank you. Great point. Because there's a school that I know, the school matters. Because sometimes even the mindset of the instructors who are teaching you can even bring you down. There's an instructor who said, okay, when you guys are done, you're going to work at McDonald's. And like, I looked at the instructor and was like, minus me. Right? So, apart from even the school, we should think big. You can go to a school that is not an Ivy League school, but because of the mindset you carry, you go very far. So you can reduce yourself. You can be in Ivy League school and finish and you come.
It all depends on you.
Peter. And then you come out, and then the school, the material that is being taught is important. But you, the person too in question, you also play a role. The fact that you went to Ivy school does not mean, or a very best school does not mean that employers are going to employ you. If your resume comes before me and you don't prove yourself right, I won't hire you. So your school is good. I will even look at the school and I was like, really, you went to Harvard and you can't do this? Get away from my face. You understand it? Because you have set a standard for me, and I want you to meet that standard. So wherever you are in your stage, let's think big, let's dream big. The next thing that I want to say is that, see, sometimes we focus on only the school. There are a lot of certification programs that you can do that can shoot you to get money more than the best school that you even went. Someone can go to community college, come out from community college, and then add some certification and get job, and the company will start paying for even any other education, the college and everything for them, and they won't owe anything, right? So there are so many ways that you can get yourself out there. And let me tell you one thing, there is a shift going on, and if it happens, education is important, but they will not place too much emphasis on your education. Because a lot of people are hired they come from college and good schools and all these things, and they come in and they sit down and they are not performing. And I know people have been hired right from the kitchen. I'm telling you, people who have worked they went to school, but then things didn't work out, then they were hired from, they were doing several, and then they come and they are performing great, and they are just climbing the ladder. There's this lady who worked at the airport, had just high school, and she just got in, and she's doing great. So what matters is that go to school, but there are a lot of things that you can do in addition to your school, the certificate that you have, that can set you apart from everybody. Because you all go to school, but what else do you have that is beyond the school? Right? So we should dream big, think big, and also ask. There are so many young professionals here. There are a lot of people who are interviewing in good companies in this church. Speak to them, talk to them. They will give you a lot of strategies how to go about it. Like Jonathan and a lot of people are here. They will give you, because there are some things you don't have. It's exposure. If you don't have exposure, you cannot go far. Musaki made a great point that he said that the friends you work with will determine how far you go. And it's true. If your friends are all $10, then they'll push you in under a $10 job. And if your friends are earning 6 figures, they'll push you in systems that will let you gain such money. So get good friends. Talk to people who have climbed the ladder. Ask questions. Don't be static on just one program because that is all you know. And you're like, okay, if I do this, I'll make this. There are some money, certifications that you do, you get a lot of money. You earn just the entry is giving you 6 figures. So school is good, everything is good, but let's see there are other things that you can add to it. Okay.
So the question is, what would you say about, like, I don't know, like the Army or Air Force and all of that? Because I know, like, I'm not going to have considered about it. I know they pay your tuition, like scholarship free, and then they even pay you, give you like stipends and all those, everything else taken care of once you join, like maybe the reserve. And then the only thing is probably like they'll need you have to like serve after like all that as almost like a payment for them, taking care of you. Would you advise someone to also go that route or no?
Yeah, the armed services, right, are the goal, the objective there is to serve, right? And a lot of people that go into the armed services, right, that's the desire, right? They go in to serve, right? As they go in, they ask you usually initially, if you're 18, 19, what do you want to do? And you don't clearly have a path oftentimes, right? But you pick something and they kind of lead you towards that way. And you can find something. In terms of the benefit, right, like after you've served, right, term you've been deployed somewhere, right, the financial benefits are evident. But oftentimes you go there to serve, right? So if that's not what you're called to, right, I wouldn't recommend that you go to the Army, right, so that you can get some financial gain thereafter, right? Because you're committing to a certain amount of time that you have no idea what will happen. Only God knows what will happen, right? If you were to consider in 2000, right, a lot of people probably went to the Army, right? And then something happened in 2001. They were not counting on being deployed, right? But then for the next 20 years, we were at war and they were being deployed somewhere, right? So if if serving is what you're interested in, right, and if you find that to be the avenue, the armed forces to be that, then I would recommend doing that. But I wouldn't go in for the financial gain itself, because you will find other avenues to be able to realize that.
So in addition to that, like, because they have like other like branches as well, I really like looked into it because at one point in time I did consider it. And so I know like in terms of like medical wise as well, like right after you're done with like medical school and all that, you can actually like get a job and still serve through there. And it's easier, like they can easily like employ you as well, and you're still serving and working at the same time.
Yes. So you can initially when you join, right? If you don't have a bachelor or a graduate school, right, then you just go in. I think it's infantry, like at the very bottom level. If you if you go in with a bachelor's degree, right, or above, you go in as an officer, right? So again, if you go in as an officer and your incentive is, I have a bachelor's degree, but I want to go to Duke really to get, I don't know, to go to medical school or something, right? And so I want to go do 1 or 2 terms somewhere, right? You're, again, committing 2 years to something you're not sure, right? But if within the Army or whatever branch you choose, right, you can pursue a lot of these careers. And so if you choose to do that within that avenue, then I would recommend going. But when you have your bachelor's, just as you could enlist for the armed services, you could also go somewhere else, right? I think, Esther, you were considering when you finished, what is it, when they send you anywhere in the world, then you can kind of go serve, right? And I think they also pay back your World Without Borders or something like that, right? Yeah, Doctors Without Borders, right? So there's other opportunities, I feel like. So it goes back to the planning aspect.
There are several opportunities you can look into, even if when you finish, like we're strictly talking about medical school and residency. Once you finish residency, there are some programs out there, Christian programs actually, where you get I guess, assigned a location where you're going to serve. So that's where you're going to go. They have an underserved population. You will be there for like 2-3 years. During that time, they will pay off all your student loans. And of course, because you're in a different country, you live in like minimally. But that's all taken care, like the room and board and all of that. All you're there is just serving. Just like here, also, you can do that in underserved population, like areas, communities where you can go, and then they will pay off some of your student loans as well. So that's one way you can kind of, I use the popular word, mitigate your student loans. Especially for some of us who can't get away from student loans and through grad school. But the military is also a great route. If that's what you want, you want to serve. I think, going in as an officer for grad school, and then after you finish your program, you want to continue to serve in the military or the armed services, it's fine to me. You just have to realize you have a commitment, usually a 10-year commitment that you have to finish with them. And then once you're done, you're done. And then that's it. But you do reap some benefits through it. If you will be deployed, especially for the medical field, you won't be the one who will be out there fighting. You'll be the one probably in the hospital, taking care of the wounded soldiers and whatever that come to the hospital. So you're not in dire danger. You're not putting your life out there, but, you are still.
Another great program that I recommended for a lot of my friends is HRSA, which stands for the Health Resources and Human Administration. She's not even listening. Okay. I was going to say another program that I would recommend for you, Valerie, is called HRSA Health Workforce. A lot of my friends did it where you can it's based in the United States. So you just go to school, accumulate all the loans that you want, and they'll just put you in some place remote in the United States. Then you just commit a certain amount of time. You can live your life. But in the end, by the time you're done, they forgive all your loans. And they're constantly recruiting. Another one is also the Public Health Service Corps. The United States, you work for the United States. It's a military you're part of the military, but you're just going to be part of like the public health, and anyone can be in it. You can be a nurse, you can be a doctor, a dentist, you can be just an epidemiologist, statistician. You can just do it. And what you're doing is like you're part of the military, but you are going by the Navy ranking, so you're going to enter as a lieutenant. But at the same time, you receive the same benefits as the military, but they're just going to place you somewhere in the United States for you to serve. And with that, they have a lot of benefits for you. So that's another way you can also look at it. Right now, they opened a new program that's called the Reserve Corps, or the Junior Reserve. And that one, if you decide to even go into the military, it's easier for you to also get in there too, also. And they offer you a lot of benefit if you want to look at that too.
This is a great discussion. Were you about to say something? Go ahead.
I just want to say, just like a minute, okay. Another investment, okay. So please, everybody attention. Another investment that we talk about stocks, okay, is life insurance. Yeah, I know as black people we feel like no, I'm not saying that we're dying tomorrow, okay, but you want to have it. All right. So life insurance traditionally, you want, you want to have it. You don't want to die and then leave everybody, in debt, and then they don't even have money to bury you. Come on, yeah. So, so that's traditionally, that's how it is, okay? But today there are other forms of life insurance that's, called universal. You can go look at it, okay? Universal index life insurance. So you can use that to invest money, okay? And it is indexed, so it's, you are not gambling as much as you're gambling with your stock. Just a simple example, okay? And I will encourage you to do it as soon as possible because, you want to lock the rate right now. You're still young, you don't have, medical, So lock the rate and then you get it. Most of the people get like short-term life insurance, $30, a month or something like that, even less than that. But it guarantees you for 20 years or some 30 years. After the 20 years that you pay your $30, let's say that your life insurance is, let's just put 100,000, okay? After the 20 or 30 years, if you are still alive, the money is gone, okay? Now, in 30 years, today you are 20, in 30 years you are 50. At 50, to get life insurance, it's gonna be expensive, okay? So to go for another 20 or 30 years, you are paying $10, maybe at 50, you'll be charged $100 a month. Just an example, okay? So I will not recommend you, but this is the life insurance that, that you will see, that will send you in the mail and all of that. Really nice. If you know you'll die within 20 years, do it, okay? I know that I want to get over 100, so so I'm not gonna do that. The other things, at work, they will provide you with a life insurance, but that is a group life insurance. The day that you retired or you decide to leave that company or you are fired, you lose it. It's gone, okay? So take it with work, but that should not be your only life insurance. You want to have your own life insurance that you can carry, that you're paying yourself, and that will take care of you and your kids. Your kids, when they go to college, it's not just their house or investment. When you die, they can have a $500,000, $1 million, $2 million, whatever you want, So, and then that's how you start building wealth. And specifically, I'm talking about the universal index. So how does it work? They look at your health, for example, let's say that you are 18, you start, 18. They look at your health and they said, okay, your fees for like a $500,000 life insurance is $50 a month. You look at it, no, it's just an example, okay? $50 a month. So you look at it, $50, it's a lot of money. It's just like 4 or 5 trip to McDonald's, okay? So you can do it. All right, so Chick-fil-A, okay. Yeah, Chick-fil-A, 2 trips, right?
Yeah, it's 2.
2 trips, yeah. Chiefly is too expensive. Yeah. So yeah, so for example, it's $50 a month, okay? So you have the advantage that they have is that you can accumulate cash value with your insurance. So you have $50 that will go to maintain your life insurance policy. But you can decide to pay more than $50, which I would recommend. You pay, for example, $200. Okay, so you pay an extra, for example, even just $100, you pay an extra $50 in there. The extra $50 that you pay, that $50 will be invested. Okay, and depending on who you go with, they will guarantee you, like if the market, if we are a booming market, you can make between 4 and 10% annual interest. If the market and it is indexed, so if we're going to, like in 2008, everything crashed, they guarantee you're still gonna make an interest of 0.5% or 1%, okay, which is almost nothing, but still better than your savings account, if you go put your money in your savings account and think that you're going to get rich, okay? So as you grow old, you are still paying your $100. The advantage is if you die, early, okay, you have whatever, your policy. If your policy was 100,000, they get your 100,000. If you live longer, because you keep making a payment, the money will keep accumulating, okay? And your policy was $100,000. At age 60 or 70, you might end up in there with like a $500,000 or $1 million. Your policy was only 100,000, but your investment has accumulated to like $1 million, okay? And so this is another way of investing. There is no risk in there because, they guarantee you that, that it's going to accumulate, because the market most likely will always go up, if it does not, the market does not crash for 20 years. It crashed for 1 year and then it starts going up, like 2008, 2009, 1 year and then it starts rotating. That 1 year is where you make 1%, yeah, so you will still make money. It's not like stock where you put money, you invest, you make mistake in your investment, you lose everything. You're not gonna lose everything, okay? And the other advantage, so I will recommend you guys, you go to your financial advisor or to, do your research about it. It's called universal life insurance. To the parents, your kid, 5 days old, get him a life insurance. Same thing, the universal life insurance, They start with that, it's going to be maybe $5 a month or something like that. It's okay, you, the parent, you are the owner of the policy. So that extra money, that cash value that is generated is your money. If you want to give it to your kid when he turns 18 to go to college, if you're, or to buy a house, there are people when I went to college, I don't know, graduate school, not NCCU. A lot of my friends, they went and buy a house. They bought a house the whole time that they were, in graduate school. They were in their own house, Yeah, where do they get the money, So we can start right now thinking about our kids. It was not possible with us, but our kids do not have to live, to go to the same experience that we have, Yeah, 5 days old, get $5, put money in there. By the time he's 18, there is already on top of his life insurance already like $250,000 maybe in there. That can be used for school or for anything else, even if he does not want to go to school. And the other advantage is when he turns 18, then he can renew now the life insurance now on his policy, and he's going to get a preferential rate because he's been on life insurance the whole time that he was growing up, Yes, it is 10 times better. Yeah.
It's literally like investment.
It is investment.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's what I want to say
Yeah.
to.
And instead of even calling life insurance, I call it living insurance, because as you are still alive, you can cash that money. You can decide that, okay, I made there is this amount of money in cash. You can take it with you. It's not like it's money that you just are gonna give to people after you die. No. Okay. Yeah, Pastor Efon.
Either ask a question or make a contribution. So let's say, usually life insurance, technically it is death. If you die, then you make money from the sum assured that is given to you. The reason why they brought the investment part in it is because people don't want to hear about death. Or if, let's say, you come to me and you want to sell a policy to me, and then you come and tell me that, okay, well, hey, just contribute this amount of money. If this happened to you, then you get this. Nobody wants to do that. It's just like, okay, well, I mean, you want me to die, right? And so they attach partial investment to it so people can make benefits while they are alive. But I would say that my advice is that if you want to do any life insurance, and there is an investment attached to it, ask more questions. Because it will not be like the investment that you are making, but ask more questions, because they will sell the policy to you. And if you don't know much about it, your hopes will be high, and you go and they are telling you some things. So if you want to do like investment, do it long term, like Musaki is saying. But if you're a person that they tell you that, okay, you can do partial withdrawal anytime, and you invest, and then the first year, you are coming to take money, or less than 5 years, you want to just do partial withdrawal, it's going to hit you big time. So do your investigations, ask a lot of questions. Some companies, right, can just cap the money. Though you are contributing, they can cap it at some assured. That is the money that will be given to you after. So you want to know much about it before, so that you don't contribute more than your sum assured, and then still they give you your sum assured. So I'm using insurance terms because I've worked with insurance company before. And so you should, anytime you are dealing with insurance or even any financial institution, get to know more about it. Because nobody will sell details, too much details to you. They'll give you the high levels. Then you have a lot of hopes. I remember someone invested a lot of money, and then the person came. They didn't ask a lot of questions. When the person came, they didn't get anything. Because the value of the money with time is not the same. You have to know that life insurance, you're going to be contributing for a very long time. And their metrics is a little bit different. Get to know more. Ask more questions. And then when you are certain with what you want to do, if the company is giving you a very good policy, buy it. If they are not, move from that company and go to another company and ask more questions about it. So that is what I want to say. Life insurance is good, but ask more questions.
Say one thing, add one thing that wasn't added. I think that, we've talked about education, we've talked about investment, we've talked about a lot, but I think that we should also be thinking about doing something for ourselves in terms of starting your own business, or, we get trained to almost work for people. And there's nothing wrong with working for people. I mean, your retirement is assured and all of that. But even more than that, it's something you start that tomorrow your child can inherit. Like for whoever the missionaries who started Chick-fil-A, their great-great-great-great-grandchildren to an endless generation will never have to see poverty or work for anybody. So we can talk about Harvard, we can talk about everything, but let's begin to think beyond just working for people. because as you guys are seeing what is happening in the world, there's nothing wrong with working for people, as I said, but over time you may be required to do something that you're not comfortable with, and you may have to choose between eating your next meal or losing your job. And there's nothing like garnering the resources, the talent that God has given you, all kinds of things. Recently, one of my friends was telling me, and I didn't know that so many avenues were there like that. One of my friends was like, she's making like a planner or something on Etsy. Like, we actually went to Etsy and people have templates. Let's say if you want a template for a water bottle, they've already made templates that they are selling. This label. So let's say we decided that we were coming to the mountain trip and that we wanted to label all our water looking like this with mountain trip and a design. Somebody has designed it electronically and they're just selling. When you print it, it's $10. 10 million people printed online. This is electronic asset. They have their own job. This thing sits on it could be it could be people even that template for making budgets. Somebody sits down, creates an Excel sheet. Okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. This is how much I spend. The Excel sheet is there, and you're not even buying it so expensive, like maybe $5, but that's it. You are working because you've already created the template. It is loaded, and that's it. So you're doing your regular job. Today, 50 people buy it online, $5, and it is electronic. Once it's there, it's not like you're constantly putting products there. They download the template. It's $5. By the time you realize, 500,000 is in your account, and that's just you're not doing anything. So let's start thinking outside of our regular 8 to 5 job, going to work for somebody, because as persecution increases and things happen, it would be necessary to have something that you call your own, that you can pass on to the next generation. Amen.
Amen. A lot is in you. I mean, we are the people that makes the companies what it is. If you build a company and nobody works in the company will not be what it is. So the Fortune 500 companies and all these big companies, it is your school. You go to school to make it big. So if you also start something, it will become big. Always starting something is difficult, right? But if you step out, God will bless it. So let's all think big. So you see, Active Word Church, we don't just give you one thing, prayer. You come here, you pray, then we teach you how to make money. If you get money, please think about the church.
When
you start a business, you owe us, you have to give us 1%. Make sure you sow into it. Yes. Yes. God bless you.
Amen.
I think we'll bring it to an end.
Yeah.
Oh, someone had a question. Okay.
So, what kind of college advice would you give to someone who wants to start a business? Because the trajectory would kind of be different.
Just to repeat it, what kind of college advice?
Going into college.
Okay. So as a senior, what kind of advice would we give you about starting your own business?
I can.
Starting.
I can give. If you are good at writing, you can be a ghostwriter. You can make money with that. And then another thing is that, let's say you're good at biology, you can tutor. You can become a private tutor, and then you make money. That's your own business you started, So yeah.
Yeah. So and is exactly on target, right? You have to determine what your passion is and what the thing is that you like, right? So my parents were both. I knew I wanted to be a project manager, right? So that was where my passion. So that's where I invested all my time and all my stuff. All that stuff was invested in trying to get to that goal. So if your passion is, if you're a writer and you know that already, right, then yes, that would be an avenue, right? You would then look and see, hey, how can I contribute? How can I write, right? And that writing, right, be a way to gain some finances back, right? whatever that thing is, first you need to identify it, right? Because if you choose to do something, and let's say you're a writer, right? But you choose, I'm going to post pictures, right? Over time, you're going to find it tiresome, right? And you're going to probably let it go. But if you find something that you're passionate about, as you're building it, right, even in the first year in college, it may not be something that blows up, right? Second year, right, maybe you wrote something and no one saw it for 2 years, and then the third year it gets published, right? I remember during this last induction, right, there was the young girl that was doing poetry, Amanda. I had never heard of her. I don't know how many people knew of her, right? Or of any of the poetry that she did, right? Not, whether her poetry is good or bad, I have no idea, right? I did not pay attention, and I went and maybe read one of her poems after, right? But she was writing poetry. That was her passion, right? So finding what that is and starting to invest in that, and then it's so easy to create a website today, right? You can create a website for anything. If you want to create a website today and you know what your passion is, by the time we leave here this weekend, I will help you create that website, right? But 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 all that to say that exposure is going to be easy, right? But finding that thing, right, that puts you that gives you that competitive edge to everyone else, right? That's the thing you need to identify. Once you identify that, the exposure is going to be pretty easy. That's the advice that I would give.
Just going to remember, he said the first year, maybe the second year, maybe the third year. So he's assuming that you're going to college.
Oh,
okay? Yeah. Yeah. So I just want to stress that, okay? We know, Steve Jobs did not finish. Bill Gates did not finish. Okay, these are 2 people out of 300 million, in America. Okay, so yeah, it is. Yeah, so I will not say don't do it, but I will say, look, got to go to college. Get your degree. Even if it's always going to be on the wall. But it's an insurance, you have something to fall back on, yeah, so, yeah. And for example, you have an idea if what kind of business you want to do and thing, then pick a measure that will give you knowledge and experience, something that, for that business, If you want to do business for, I don't know what, clothing, don't go to medical school, Yeah, So do something, where you can learn something and you can, bring into your business. And good luck. Yeah.
Amen. Are you going to say something? Okay. This has been a great discussion. Lots of.
One more question. Please, one more. Elizabeth, don't worry. We're going to stand in the queue for a long time, man.
It's just one thing. All right. My family, they're full of business people, accountants, and all that other stuff. I think the most important thing is knowing your numbers. There are so many business owners that don't know their numbers. They hire someone else outside, like an accountant, and they'll mess you over. The biggest thing, knowing your numbers. And that's it. I'm losing my breath. I'm hungry.
Amen. This was a great discussion. Lots of wisdom was shared with the 4 that are up here.
Elizabeth, I just want to say one last thing. I think that one other thing that is a trap that many people have fallen into, especially people in the African community, is that everybody wants to be a physician, a pharmacist, a nurse. And while those careers are absolutely amazing, you have to know what you're capable of. We can do all things through Christ who strengthens us, but not all of us have been called to go to med school. And sometimes you might, depending on your community, you might feel like you don't have a life until you have gone to one of these careers. I know I have a friend, actually. I don't know, Musaki, if you know this girl. She went to NCC, wanted to go to medical school several times. I applied, did everything, didn't go. Today she has a clothing line at Belk's. She will make way more money than a physician. Doesn't even have the student loan. So sometimes, but the time when she was grinding and taking the MCAT and then doing the 1 year gap and trying to retake, and at some point you have to pause and look at yourself and say that, yes, Esther went, Alice went, Mary went, this went, but this might not be for me. And because all of us are uniquely carved, the fact that all of us, even children from the same, even identical twins still have different fingerprints, is an indication that we all have different things that we would touch very uniquely. So don't get into the trap of saying that when I was in Ghana, we used to say medical school or suicide. It was that intense when I was in the University of Ghana, medical or suicide. And that was how intense it was. I had a friend who literally wanted to commit suicide because they couldn't get into med school. Because it's like, they felt like without becoming a physician, there is no identity. And if you're not careful, depending on the family background that you are coming from, you might find yourself in one of those traps. There's no greater satisfaction than finding what you were just carved to do. So otherwise you end up with this mountain of student loan that is really a student loan for a physician, and you're still stuck. You didn't even get the doctorate degree. So there are so many career options. Do your best, but as you're doing your best, it is okay to say that, you know what, this really isn't for me. This is for me. And God will open the doors.
Amen. This is a great discussion for lovely people who got to share with us. But I think a couple of things I'll share right before we wrap up for dinner. There's also wisdom in a lot of us who are sitting here too. So don't be afraid to ask questions. Some people have raised children who are here, so they have great wisdom that they definitely could share. So I think the big thing is just don't be afraid to ask because they want to share. Their hearts are willing, and they've got lots of wisdom. A few of them spoke last time in March, and I know I gained a lot of wisdom from them. The other thing I'll say is whatever you took notes on, put it into practice. I definitely, being honest, didn't from last March, and I'm like, wow, I wish I would have started some of the things that they said. So put it into practice. Don't let 6 months go by before you put it into practice when we meet in April. So make sure you start today. Yes, we'll meet in April. We'll make a little more of that kind of official announcements later. But make sure you put them into practice immediately, ASAP, as soon as possible. Thank y'all for sharing. We appreciate y'all's wisdom. It is time to get ready to eat some dinner. Yay!